You okay?
Do you need a break, Jen?
Not yet.
Good evening, Georgiana Woodhall. I just wanted to mention to Nick Reesock, I had, Lou Randall was kind enough to share an email with me from you, and it was on Wednesday, July 19th of 2017. And it says, thanks for the input, Lou. I agree that we need to update our ordinances surrounding this matter, and I mentioned that the same at our last meeting. And I don't know if you're not aware that there has been there was a modernization of the zoning committee, regulations committee, which Mr. Ratcher served on from 2006 to 2010. Correct, Mr. Ratcher?
That is correct.
And at that time, there were regulations for gas and oil drilling, if you recall.
Yes.
Okay.
What year again? Sorry.
From 2000, these are the minutes from 2006 to 2010. And during that time, Resolution 0974, a resolution of the Municipality of Monroeville approving an agreement for the completion of a zoning ordinance to be presented to the Monroeville Planning Commission and the Monroeville Council. This is an agreement with Scott Dellett. Am I pronouncing that?
Dillette.
Dillette. Scott Dillette. Whereas Scott Dillette is willing and able to complete the draft of the revised zoning ordinance on or before April 30th of 2010, with an estimated number of hours of work at 100, at $75 an hour. Were you aware that this ordinance was being updated?
No.
Anybody on council?
I never heard
Just
of
you,
it.
Mayor. Okay.
I don't know what ordinance she's talking about.
What's
What ordinance are you talking about?
Zoning ordinance.
Just the zoning
This
ordinance?
is the entire zoning ordinance. Okay, this was the modernization of the zoning.
Okay.
So this was way before we all were sitting here on council, correct?
Right, but the purpose of this was to pass it on to the Planning Commission.
Okay.
Scott was hired, and then it was passed on to the Planning Commission. Scott's time was extended. Resolution 1027, a resolution of the Municipality of Monroeville extending the length and scope of services previously approved for Scott Dellett for the zoning ordinance revision project.
What year
This
was
was, Scott was paid $13,800 for his work with the Modernization Committee.
What
what
year? We're kind of going around the block. I mean, I understand what you're
This
saying.
is the gas and drilling. Just, Mayor, I'm trying to make a point here, okay?
Georgiana, I'm just...
It went to the
What
Planning
year was
Commission
that?
when I got on the Planning Commission. They were working on it. Went there in December. The draft went on 12/22/2010 to the Planning Commission.
2010.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and we worked on that up until 2015. Lee Mueller was hired back when this went to the Planning Commission. And that was an agreement for his services. This agreement made and entered into on the 8th day of March 2011. Lee J. Mueller, hereafter referred to as consulting firm. I spent many nights in that conference room over there working with the Planning Commission on updating the ordinance. And in 2015, that ordinance was supposed to go to the public, to council, and then to the county. And, you know, I'm here to ask what happened to that zoning ordinance that the taxpayers of Monroeville paid over $30,000.
Did that have an oil and gas
Oh,
ordinance?
no.
Yes,
No,
it did. Yes, it did. In fact, it did have an oil and gas ordinance. And I'm just going to read briefly the 2000, it's Wednesday minutes from August 26, 2009. This meeting was held at Monroeville Municipal Center. Chelsea reported she will draft new oil and gas regulations, but since the municipality is limited in what we can regulate, the regulations will be few. And since Huntley & Huntley, Penteco, stated they will not assist Chelsea with locations of proposed gas wells, Chelsea stated her primary need is an overlay zoning district map identifying which of the 12,109 lots, existing parcels, in Monroeville would best accommodate shallow oil and gas wells. After reviewing Jamie's July 7, 2009 email and a lengthy discussion thereof, the committee requested Jamie create a map showing 5 and 10-acre parcels with existing gas wells, which would assist the committee to choose the preferred regulated size. Chelsea will also author definitions for the following: mineral and gas. My question is, the 12,009 lots, is that my home? Is that the airport property? What are we talking about
I'll be
here?
honest with you, I don't have a clue what she's talking about.
Well, I'm going to
Can I
give
ask
you...
a question? Is this for the shallow well drilling that's been done in Monroeville?
This
That
is
may
for
not have
shallow,
anything to
this
do
is for
with our-
fracking. I'm going to give you a copy, and this is a
Well,
schedule.
you made the statement that it was shallow wells, so I'm
Some of them are shallow wells.
I'm thinking that's
I'm
the
going to give
existing
you a
wells.
schedule. That ordinance was complete. That ordinance in March was supposed to be advertised, holding public meetings, going to the county for review, and I'll give you the schedule that
Did
was...
that ever come from the planning commission to the council at any time? Do you know?
No, well, what happened was, we completed
Feel
it.
better now.
Yeah,
We
because I'm
completed it, and
confused.
it was supposed to...
Come to,
It's like it never came
that should
up
have come to this to a council in what year?
These are the dates that were given to me and the other
15?
members of the planning commission.
Who wrote
Georgiana, you've been on the planning, so why did it never come from the planning to the council?
Pardon me?
What stopped it from coming from planning to here?
I've asked Mr. Udis repeatedly.
Who wrote
and I
this?
brought it up to Mr. Little.
Who authored this?
That was given by Mr. Mueller and Mr. Shufo to the members of the Planning Commission so that we knew the dates that were going to be picked. And what concerns me also is, right now, drilling is permitted
It was never
in any
presented.
zoning district. Is that correct?
I believe that is the
Yes.
case.
Yeah, it is. It is. And when you were working, Mr. Ratcher, on this modernization committee, zoning was in the minutes here. It states that zoning was only going to be allowed in landfill, M1 and M2.
Correct.
In the ordinance that we worked on with Mr. Mueller, it was only going to be in M2 industrial and landfill.
Yes.
My concern is, and like I said, I've asked Mr. Hughes, I've asked Mr. Little, what happened to the zoning ordinance that you spent over $30,000 in taxpayer money? And where is it?
Well, I'll answer your question right now to the best of my ability, okay? This started before my time in Monroeville, before 2010, okay? And the zoning ordinance is a very cumbersome process, as you well know. Mr. Dillette at that time was a W-2 employee, and then in 2010, there was a downsizing, hence the reason why I am here, where there's 10 employees that took an early retirement. And then at that time, Mr. Dillette went to be a 1099 employee. All right, so he was only working part-time. He and I met on several occasions. My first 9 months, I'm guessing, 9 months I was here. Mr. Dillette took a job in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania as their planner. He left. Mr. Shufo was still our zoning officer. Mr. Dillette was hired as a special consultant, and he was working on it as a W-2 employee. He left, and then nothing was done because there just wasn't any time. Now, what you have given to me and you've given the council, the heading on this is a schedule of approval process for the draft zoning ordinance. Now, I'm looking at the dates, and this is what Lee put together, Lee Mueller. All right, and I remember Lee, because I hired Lee.
Lee and Mark
And
Shufo.
council approved his hiring back in 2011. And my assumption here is that these are dates that Lee was proposing that this would get done. But because of people power, manpower, in the engineering and planning department, it didn't get done because nobody had the time to address the whole zoning ordinance and work with the Planning Commission on it as Lee started in 2011, because I attended the meetings in 2011, just not the Planning Commission meetings, but just working in that back room on the zoning ordinance. Then it got picked up again. I wasn't here in 2012 and 2013, so I don't know what occurred then. Then, when I come back, we had Mr. Shufo decided to retire, and then we hired another planner who did not meet the requirements for the residency. He left, and now we've hired Mr. Wilden. So that's a basic synopsis over the last 9
Okay.
years.
Well, all I know is that according to our last meeting working on the zoning ordinance, this was ready. There were just typographical corrections that had to be made. And it was, I remember specifically Mr. Shufo saying, look at the dates, and this was for all the members who were on
When did he
the
say
planning
that,
commission.
though? What year did he say that?
It would have been 2015.
But this has been sitting for 2 years.
I'm asking, where is it? I'm
Well,
saying,
there's
why
nothing-
waste
there's-
$30,000?
You
I'm
need to drop
saying
back accounts
you
on
spent
it.
$30,000
So
on
it still has to
taxpayer
be in the
money.
planning's hands because we've never seen it.
And there's nothing on this that says oil and gas. I mean, this could be an ordinance for anything.
But I'm saying, I have a copy here that I'm going to put in. This
It looks
was
like
from-
questions and answers.
This is
Question
from the
for attorney.
modernization, when Mr. Ratcher worked on the modernization, and then this was the updated ordinance.
But it
you know
says
what
nothing on here.
This all have to do with seismic testing. This is what we're supposed to be addressing.
Seismic testing now, today.
That's what I'm talking about. This we'll have to address, and Tim, we're going to look into
We
this.
have to find where this is
I know.
and bring it to light.
Because this was never brought in front of
Yeah, I think
council.
this needs to be dug out from somewhere. Is that it? Georgina, do you have another one of
You
these?
know, I can't,
Do you have another one of these for Sharon?
no, I don't.
Otherwise, I'll give her mine.
I mean, I can't imagine, you know, you're signing off on expenses for the budget,
Says
spending that kind of money and just letting something set.
I couldn't agree with you more, but I see nothing on here that says anything about what this zoning or ordinance is.
Well, I'm telling you over there, I just handed in a copy of the draft for the modernization
But
committee.
this has dates on it, and
And
it says
from the-
nothing in regards
That's
to,
the schedule. That was the schedule.
I mean,
But again, ladies and gentlemen, we're supposed to be addressing seismic testing. As
Well,
again, as
you
I
were-
said to you,
excuse
we're
me, Mayor,
going to
but you
look
were
into this.
addressing timber harvesting not long ago.
That's correct. But
And that
we
wasn't
give
on
you
the
way,
agenda.
yeah, but we gave you way more than 5 minutes.
Pardon me?
We gave you way more than 5 minutes. I said to you, we're going to look into this. This is the first we're seeing this as a council.
I don't know what...
Okay, well,
I don't know what happened to it. We'll find out.
Well, I apologize for exceeding my 5
No,
minutes.
I don't
And I
ca- I
did
don't
have
have a problem
questions,
with
and I did
that.
have questions for Mr. Mangini, that I noticed that, and his attorneys, they're not here. But honestly, I'd really like to see that South Fayette ordinance being put in. We don't want a watered-down ordinance. We don't want something that's questionable. And I understand that you brought up the challenge, that you could be challenged. I don't think that's something you even have to worry about, honestly. Thank you.
Again, somebody else would like to